So, Owen, there's been a huge amount of chat about your affordable homes plan. Can you just explain it a bit to me?
Sure, Mairéad. So right now across the country, there are tens of thousands of people, singles, couples, young people, people midway through their career, people approaching retirement age who simply can't put an affordable roof over their head. So at the very centre of our housing plan, A Home of Your Own, is delivering tens of thousands of genuinely affordable homes at prices working people can actually afford. A very large volume of those will be delivered by local authorities and approved housing bodies. We're going to double the capital investment by government for local authorities and approved housing bodies to build those homes. And those homes will be sold at prices between 250 and 300,000 euros. But we also want to do more to activate the private residential development sector. So on the private housing side, we get far more really good quality homes for people, including first-time buyers, to buy at more moderated prices. But the centrepiece really is the delivery of those 25,000 affordable homes by local authorities and approved housing bodies at prices from 250,000 euros.
Like, that sounds really good, but I suppose people have heard a lot about affordable housing coming on stream, and we're just not really seeing it, and not at prices that people can afford.
This is the big question people ask. How is it possible to build really good quality, A-rated homes for families and for singles that you can buy for 250,000? Because in Dublin, for example, a new built home, 400, 450, 500,000 euros and then some. And how we do it is a very straightforward concept. Basically, the local authority approved housing body, they're going to pay for the land. They're going to pay for the servicing of the site. They're going to pay for the water and gas connections, and we'll waive the development levies. So when you buy the house, you buy the house at the price of construction. The house is yours. You legally own it. You can do what you want to it, put solar panels on it, build an extension, build a port subject to planning. And crucially, you have the right to pass that home on to your children and grandchildren. But because the state paid for the land and all the land-related elements of it, we retain ownership of that. We give you, the homeowner, the free indefinite use of that land for you, your children and your grandchildren. But there are some conditions. And the key condition is when you want to sell the home, and you can sell the home whenever you want, you sell it back into the affordable housing scheme to a future affordable purchaser at the price you paid for it, index-linked for inflation and home improvements. So because you got to buy it at a fair, affordable price, we require you to sell it at a fair, affordable price. So how we enable you to buy the home at 250, 260, etc., is we pay for all of the land-related costs. The house is yours. And for you and all subsequent generations, that home is permanently affordable.
Okay, so I've heard that that's actually something that's happened before, and that it's the case with apartments, for example. So that means basically that if I had an affordable house like that, I could sell it on to a neighbour's child or whatever it may be, and it would just stay in that affordable type of thing, but I can do any kind of changes that I want to do.
The real issue is what are the terms and conditions? Because if you're going to buy a house, because you're going to take out a mortgage and you're going to pay that mortgage, you want to know the terms and conditions. And therefore, it's really important that people understand legally the house is theirs. And they have all of the same rights and entitlements as any other homeowner. But if the state is going to invest billions of euros of public money every year in the critical infrastructure of housing, of land, we want to make sure that not just this generation, but all subsequent generations benefit from that public investment, because essentially the land becomes critical public infrastructure. So I keep talking about how we want to build year on year a stock of privately owned, privately traded, but permanently affordable homes. And that contrasts with the government scheme, because at the government scheme at the moment, for example, you don't own the home when you buy it. They own 20% of it. They take an equity stake. You ultimately have to pay that equity stake back, or your children have to pay it. If you pay it back, you have to pay it in 10,000 euro lump sums. If your children inherit the house, they have to pay it straight off. So what we've designed is a scheme where what you pay for is what you get. You get an affordable home, clean and simple. But also future generations get it. There's no point having a scheme where maybe the first purchaser maybe gets an initial discount on the purchase price, which is the government's plan, but eventually has to flip it into the market. And then the affordability is gone forever. The private market will continue to exist. People will buy and sell private homes like they've always done. But we're going to create this parallel market of privately owned, privately traded, permanently affordable homes. And if we get into government, if we're able to expand on the idea, people will then trade up and trade down within this affordable market. People can trade out of it and move into the private market. Or crucially, people who want to trade out of the private market can come into the affordable market. And it's not just for first-time buyers. Ultimately, we would like to get to a situation where these homes can be traded on the basis of need. At this point, because we'll just be beginning to develop these homes, they'll be for first-time buyers. There'll be people who lost their home or were forced to sell their home due to mortgage distress. There'll be people who don't own a home, maybe because of relationship breakdown, but also people that might have owned a home, might have sold it, but are no longer in a position to buy on the private market. So it's a much more open scheme than the government's. We do have an income eligibility cap. So for the moment, we're going to cap the scheme at single people or couples on a gross income, a pre-tax income of €90,000. But we are going to review that annually depending on what's happening with wages and market price of homes. But this is really, I suppose, a new idea, taking stuff that has existed before but applying it to today. And what we're trying to say to working people out there is we want to bring home ownership back into your reach, whether you're that single person or that couple starting out in life, whether you're somebody who, because of the nature of your job, you're in the private rental sector into your 50s, and you're beginning to get a bit nervous about where things are going to be when you hit pension age. The idea is to have homes that people like that can actually buy, because today they're completely locked out of the market and we want to change that.
Yeah, totally. And one of the big things is like usually if you grow up in an estate, you kind of want to stay around that estate, you know, whether you want to be minding your mum later in life or whatever it is. So that really gives people then the opportunity that, you know, those houses will stay affordable. Hopefully they can buy them later in life. But then crucially, I think the big thing is you can actually give it to your son, your daughter, and that doesn't impact.
Yeah, and there's a reason why we're doing that. So even though there's an eligibility limit on the purchaser, there's no eligibility limit on the children when you pass it on. And why is that? Because if you look at really good settled communities, what you have is what we call intergenerational tenure. People have lived there 2, 3, 4 generations. Their local businesses are there. They're involved in the sports clubs or the cultural activities. And therefore, it's really important, not just because people want to give their children that start in life, but also actually from a housing policy point of view, having that intergenerational tenure is really, really valuable. It's not that you only want that. Of course, you want new people coming in as well. So we've kind of designed it in both in the interests of the homeowner and their children, but actually from a good estate management point of view as well. It is also important to emphasise we're not just in the business of delivering affordable purchase homes. We want to deliver 25,000 affordable rental homes over that 5 years as well. And they'll be integrated into the same housing estates. They're for the same types of people whose income is above the threshold for social housing, but who would really struggle or can't afford to rent in the open market. And again, in the housing plan, which we publish on the website, we've set out how we can actually structure the financing and delivery of those homes to push entry-level rents down at or below €1,000 a month. At the moment, market rents statewide now are coming in at €2,000. The government's so-called affordable rents for a 2-bed are about €1,600. We want to get those affordable rents down at or below 1,000, either for folks who are quite happy to rent for life if they have security and affordability, or for those folks who want to rent at a more affordable level while they're saving for the deposit to buy either an affordable home that the state will deliver or a private home on the private market.
Yeah, I think that's really good because like if people want to move into an area, say, to work for a number of years, they might want to be able to rent at an affordable kind of rate. So what are you thinking? So to be less than 1,000 is what you're thinking. What would they look like? Would that be apartments? How would that work?
So they'd be both, and it's the same with the houses. So look, we need all sorts of housing. We need more apartments, we need more duplexes, we need more standard houses. But also you can have really innovative designs of kind of higher density housing that's not a big apartment block, and there's walk-ups or different kind of designs. Stuff that, for example, if you go around the country and you look at older social housing estates, if you look at Muse housing, if you go to cities like Barcelona or Amsterdam or Copenhagen or Berlin, you see how they do higher density housing really well. Everybody doesn't just go into a building and up in a lift and a dark corridor. They're living in places that are well designed, have good public realm, and really kind of interesting places to live. And again, we've talked mainly about our affordable housing on the public side, but we also need private residential developers to be building more good quality homes at more moderated prices. So affordable housing shouldn't just be on the public side, it should be also on the private side as well.
That's actually really good. So do you think that the way if government's investing in affordability, that'll spur on then other builders then maybe to build those kind of affordable houses, or how do you think that'll work? Because we really need that.
So we have a whole set of policies about how we would support residential developers, whether in terms of accessing sites, whether it's accessing finance, accessing planning permission, to reduce those risks, reduce those costs, and then they can pass that on to the buyers. And then outside of the big urban cores, we need to support the small and medium-sized builders, the people who build family homes. Again, that's lower cost finance, that's quicker planning, and that's access to sites and to utility connections. Again, to build the homes in Carlow, in rural Galway, in Sligo, in rural County Kerry and Waterford. So one, it's about helping the folks who want to do higher density developments in the cities to do that at lower cost. And 2, it's supporting the SME sector to be building more. It's about more public homes that are affordable, but more private homes too.
I think that's actually a really good point because, you know, it's not just for the urban areas. I think a lot of people feel a lot of time when we're talking about housing that it's just for our cities. But you're saying here this plan is for rural areas as well.
Yeah, so, and you know, Mairéad, we've met with folks from the islands, for example. I've met with a lot of the Irish language planning officers from the rural Gaeltacht, but I also spend a lot of time talking to builders, architects, and also people who want to get affordable homes in rural countryside areas. There is no reason why the same core policy principles can't be applied to your high density areas, your mid density areas, and your more dispersed populations. Clearly, in those rural countryside areas, in the islands and the Gaeltacht, we have to ensure that as we're delivering these homes, they're socially sustainable, so people can live in good quality communities, so we don't create problems of rural isolation into the future. They're economically sustainable, so we can make sure we have good quality social economic infrastructure, and they're environmentally sustainable. And when I talk to people who either want to live in those rural countryside areas or who are currently living there, they say, of course, we want residential development to be affordable, but also be socially, economically and environmentally sustainable. And again, in the housing plan, we set out how that can be done. We don't have to continue with the failed residential development patterns, urban and rural, of the past. They haven't served our communities well. And therefore, both through the provision of affordable housing in rural areas and supporting residential developers in those same places, whether it's the islands, the Gaeltachts, or just regular countryside areas, we can deliver good quality affordable homes there too.
Just to finish up, is there one thing that you want, a key message on your affordable homes programme that you want to get out there?
Our country is wealthier than it has ever been. Our young people have access to better quality education, training and employment opportunities. The one thing they're telling us they want is affordable homes. What our affordable homes plan and a home of your own does is it puts home ownership back into reach of those people. Public homes delivered by local authorities, improved housing bodies, private homes by residential developers. So if affordable housing is what you need, please read our plan and look at the details, because we believe this is a solution to the problem that you're now facing.